crop circles remain a mystery to many of us, but did you know that there is an investigator by the name of Patty Greer who has done 8 films and won 8 awards for her work investigating crop circles? And did you know that Patty Greer has captured on camera the very plasma spheres that are creating these marvels? Myself, Beth, and Paul of Shed Show Talk got together with Patty and had several conversations about everything she's learned about crop circles, but also the opposition she has faced being the most hacked ufologist in the world. So, is there something about crop circles that is so powerful that would cause Patty Greer to be so antagonized by the community? I don't know, but these are just some of the topics that we're going to take a look at. And you guys, please remember to hit the subscribe button and join the conversation. You're important to Shed Show Talk, and we want you in the conversation.
My name is Beth, and Paul, can you say a quick hello?
Hey everyone. Paul here.
We're live interviewing Patty Greer about crop circles. Now, we know at Shed Show Talk it's all about the conversation and introducing concepts and discussion points that are really interesting to us. And perhaps some of us are new to the subject of crop circles, and perhaps some of you are absolute experts in the field. Either way, Patty is here to answer some of our questions. Patty, would you like to say a hello?
Hi. Hello, Canada, and hello, the rest of the world listening in.
We're so happy to have you. I have various people on Twitter emailing me about crop circles, and of course it's a phenomenon we got interested in for additional reasons, some involving orbs. But before we go any further, one of the things I noticed about you when I was researching crop circles is that you've actually produced, 8 films about crop circles. Would you mind just giving a quick Patty Greer Films 101 to our viewers?
Well, I was totally untrained, had no intention of making movies. I was dealing with a terrible case of mercury poisoning from silver fillings. Mm-hmm. And so I tried every kind of medical everything and every kind of unmedical healing, and finally gave up and did something so crazy. I went to England and laid in crop circles.
Wow.
That's who I was. And thank God I was, because that first crop circle I walked in changed my life. And as I was walking in, like to even find the crop circle in a huge field of wheat, all of a sudden there was this sense of enhanced electromagnetic field is all I can guess. And the hair was standing straight up on my arms, goosebumps head to toe, tingles on the top of my head.
Wow.
It was so tactile. And I was like, oh my God, we're not even there yet. I haven't seen a thing, but my whole body lit up.
And your body responded to the crop circle. And which crop circle was this? Do you mind me asking? Or which country? You said England, correct?
Yeah, it was in Wiltshire, which is the epicenter. It has been for decades. And we can go into why, because it's a beautiful consistency that keeps crop circles happening in this area, perhaps more than anywhere else on Earth. On the other hand, perhaps it's the only area where they're being documented. You know, there could be tons of them happening somewhere else, but they don't get documented, so we don't hear about them. In southern England, we've certainly seen a huge spike in the documented crop circles there compared to anywhere else on Earth, but they do happen everywhere else. And the shocking thing was that if you went and looked at Canadian crop circles and you really took your time, you guys would be blown away how many you've had in the last, just for example, 20 years that you don't know about. I just decided to go to the epicenter where I knew there was just a splattering of them all over this area. So I wasn't even rational. I was dealing with pretty heavy mercury poisoning, and I just knew I wanted to get there. So I got over there and I had all of them printed up, all of the locations and the patterns. And the first one was in Wiltshire, and it was one that barely got documented. But I have photos, of course. And it was clearly an amazing, energetic shift. And when I turned around to look at the people behind me, they were like this, like huge eyes where they went, yeah, I feel it. And then about 10 feet later, boom, there's this incredible swirl down quarter acre of wheat that's like 60 feet across, this massive swirl down crop circle with meticulous walls and this crystalline feeling energy that was so cool. And it was a rainy, cold day, and the three of us are walking in, and because the wheat was so high, like to our hips, we were soaked all the way up to our hips. And so we're in this thing, drizzling, and I didn't care because of my first crop circle, and all of us were just in awe. So that was my first experience where I absolutely knew that it was something other than generic of this world. It was something multidimensional that would make the hair stand up and zzz all over your body. And from that moment forward, I totally forgot about what I was dealing with the health issue. And all I wanted to do was go in crop circles. It was this instant love.
It was a complete transformation, and it sounds like perhaps even on the chemical plus the metaphysical level. Is that correct? Would you say that's correct?
Yes, and the interesting thing now that I'm 10 years past that first day, actually 11 years, is that I realized that had I not had the mercury poisoning, I probably would have been a fourth as brave as I was. I think it served me incredibly well. I think that it made me unusually telepathic, and also I no longer really cared as much about the old way I did life as just being in those formations and getting this information onto film. And all of a sudden I'm editing. I mean, I'm just crazy. It really was a telepathic transformation where I feel like the mercury was a benefit. And as I've been interviewing a lot of people over the years, one of them is a guy named Doug, and he admitted he was in DARPA. DARPA Doug, I call him, but he's got his free energy paint on the space shuttle right now.
Really?
So he's got a liquid free energy called SLP, solar liquid power, that he's infusing roof tiles like Elon Musk is doing. He's got the technology, his version, but also infusing it into paint on the house, paint on the car. I mean, we have everything we need. You guys know this to move forward, and it's time to do that. So I want to talk about crop circles because they also offer us a technology that can help us move forward. I just decided to go to the epicenter where I knew there was just a splattering of them all over this area. So I wasn't even rational. I was dealing with pretty heavy mercury poisoning, and I just knew I wanted to get there. So I got over there and I had all of them printed up, all of the locations and the patterns. And the first one was in Wiltshire, and it was one that barely got documented. But I have photos, of course. And it was clearly amazing, energetic shift. And when I turned around to look at the people behind me, they were like this, like huge eyes where they went, yeah, I feel it. And then about 10 feet later, boom, there's this incredible swirl down quarter acre of wheat that's like 60 feet across, this massive swirl down crop circle with meticulous walls and this crystalline feeling energy that was so cool. And it was a rainy, cold day, and the three of us are walking in, and because the wheat was so high, like to our hips, we were soaked all the way up to our hips. And so we're in this thing, drizzling, and I didn't care because of my first crop circle, and all of us were just in awe. So that was my first experience where I absolutely knew that it was something other than generic of this world. It was something multidimensional that would make the hair stand up and zzz all over your body. And from that moment forward, I totally forgot about what I was dealing with the health issue. And all I wanted to do was go in crop circles. It was this instant love.
It was a complete transformation, and it sounds like perhaps even on the chemical plus the metaphysical level. Is that correct? Would you say that's correct?
Yes, and the interesting thing now that I'm 10 years past that first day, actually 11 years, is that I realized that had I not had the mercury poisoning, I probably would have been a fourth as brave as I was. I think it served me incredibly well. I think that it made me unusually telepathic, and also I no longer really cared as much about the old way I did life as just being in those formations and getting this information onto film. And all of a sudden I'm editing. I mean, I'm just crazy. It really was a telepathic transformation where I feel like the mercury was a benefit. And as I've been interviewing a lot of people over the years, one of them is the a guy named Doug, and he admitted he was in DARPA. DARPA Doug, I call him, but he's got his free energy paint on the space shuttle right now.
Really?
So this, yeah, he's got a liquid free energy called SLP, solar liquid power, that he's infusing roof tiles like Elon Musk is doing. He's got the technology, his version, but also infusing it into paint on the house, paint on the car. I mean, we have everything we need. You guys know this to move forward, and it's time to do that. So I want to talk about crop circles because they also offer us a technology that can help us move forward. And that, I think, is the most important thing that I discovered, but it took me until my 8th movie to get there. I mean, this has been so well hidden, the real science of crop circles. So people are like Doug and Dave, a couple of guys with boards and robes, right? Isn't that what everybody knows, those two old guys?
I know Paul is itching to ask you some questions about the science of it, of the crop circles. Paul, what is your question?
Well, I have actually an array of questions for you. First of all, thank you for joining us here today, Patty. 8 awards and 8 films made. That's just absolutely incredible. And you must be very proud of your work and the recognition within the community that you've received over the years. And I guess, and I know that that hasn't gone without trial or tribulations throughout the history, but if you were to suggest, and you talked about the technology that this can unleash, and I believe I've heard you reference anywhere between a 75 and 400% higher production from the wheat that's actually produced in these or in these crop circles. And that work was somewhat conveyed through William Levengood, who you also have spoken about, and obviously with your contacts with Penny there. So why hasn't this got out? Why are we not using this in everyday farming and production today?
The only reason I can say is that, sadly, somebody really is scared of my work getting out. I don't think it's the same people that were scared of William Levengood's work getting out, but he was really suppressed. And they used a very stupid way of doing it that was so kind of bully CIA BS. Those are a whole lot of initials in a row, but they make sense because what we're dealing with is these split of frequencies where you've got really intelligent people, and then you've got this cluster of stuck on stupid with all the money. Okay. And the stuck on stupid, the problem is that most of them were mind controlled as children. Most of these poor people were taken into my labs or taken from schools on those special buses and told they were special kids and reprogrammed or programmed to perhaps be serving those entities today. And I think that's what's really happening in the field of ufology. And crop circles kind of shouldn't even be in the field of ufology. It's a misnomer, again, as part of the suppression, as part of it feeling like such a threat to people. Oh my God, aliens making crop circles. But the bottom line is, check this out. I mean, I had to have Penny tell me 5 mornings in a row. I would hold my head at breakfast like this, and she'd say, come on, you cannot be serious. And I said, yeah, it actually hurts my brain when you explain it to me. Tell me again, how are crop circles coming out of the earth? They are not coming out of the sky. Crop circles are coming out of the earth in counter-rotating vortices of spinning plasma. And these vortices of spinning plasma going in opposite directions are throwing down material then, once they get to the proper frequency where they're spinning really fast. And what the human eye will see, if we're lucky enough to be there in the field, God forbid, with the camera rolling, is a ball of light. But because of how crop circles are happening, it's usually two balls of light making a crop circle. So we have a variety of different footages, not many, but definitely the famous one, Oliver's Castle. Now, the Oliver footage was 1996, and I put it at the end of my first movie, and I thought, oh my God, wow, this is how they happen. Two balls of light lay down a crop circle. Isn't that amazing? So I finished the movie, and I knew nothing about crop circles. I'm telling you, I had not watched other people's movies. I had not read books. I just went and laid in a bunch of crop circles, and then I hired a team to film me and my friends that I had seen day after day, week after week in the crop circles. And I knew they were real croppies. They were speaking from their heart. They had the same kind of experience as me, which was they were crazy. They would go into crop circles at night. Not many would, but I certainly did. And sit up on the overlooks for hours with our cameras just waiting for balls of light to appear. So here we are all these years thinking balls of light coming from spaceships or satellites sending down these whatever, Hollywood has really made us pretty nutty, and crop circles, all those phony movies. And then they've got these paid Rockefeller speakers to say, oh, no, it's fake, go back to sleep. And because they were paid so well and funded, people still believe this stuff is fake. So because I didn't know that it was fake or read their movies or watch their stuff, I just went and I brought home this footage. So it's at the end of my first movie. I lay in the crop circles, the balls of light laying down the Oliver's Castle. And the editor and I, he'd never seen crop circles, and I had just brought home all this footage, hired a kid on Craigslist. So we finished the movie, and I said, my God, that was easy. How long is it? 77 minutes. Wow, my favorite number. So I'm all, woo-woo. And let's go out on the deck, take a break, turn off the gear. So we walk out on the deck, and I turned around, and there was this big blue orb. What's that blue orb on the monitor? And then I walked up, and I looked, and I said, that thing's gorgeous, and it's not in the movie. Where'd that come from? And he walked up and looked at me, and he said, that monitor's unplugged from the wall.
Wow.
So that's contact right there. And I actually did see pictures of that as well. That's amazing. How did that make you feel at the time when that was when you realized that it was actually physically with you?
The editor looked at me, I looked at him, and I said, we're not going out on the deck, and let's turn the gear back on. And he actually looked at me, poor kid, he's 26. He looked at me and he said, you look weird. And I said, I feel weird. And I lifted my arm, and I'm in Boulder, Colorado, hair standing up, little teeny hairs because I'm a lady, goosebumps, head to toe, chills. And I was like, holy crap, I feel like I'm in a crop circle. The kid is seeing me shapeshift energetically. I'm not an ET of any kind. So he just saw me shift my frequency, and he didn't know what he was looking at. And I just went, oh, I remember this feeling. And so instantly it was telepathic. And I said, please turn the gear back on and show me that Oliver's Castle footage again. So he showed it to me, end of the film, 77 minutes cut. And I went, reverse that footage. He said, why? And I said, I don't know, just do it. So he reversed it, we watched it, and I said, slow it down. He said, how slow? And I said, I don't know, 30%. And I was like, I don't know where that came from. That was weird. So he slowed it down, 30%, reversed it, and I yelled, stop. And in that moment, I found a direct code of binary communication between those balls of light. And I had to get out of my chair, jump up and down, and I can't go into those superlatives, but it was a moment where I just, son of a gun, this is real. There was no doubt in my mind from that moment forward, because how I found it, and he was a witness, and he said, you look weird. And I was like, yeah, I feel weird, but I know what this is. Holy crap, sit down. And then it just happened. It was like magic. And it's interesting because I ended the movie with that and nobody noticed. To me, it was like going to change history in the crop circle field. Still today, 9 years later, not one researcher has said to me, wow, thank you. I mean, it's really stunning. I don't want to say competitive because there's nothing to compete about. My God, we should each be adding our special key, but this is fine. So the field asked me to show it to Mr. Famous with all these initials behind his name to get him to scientifically approve my find. And I said, hey, what I want to know is, what does the binary code mean? I don't need anybody to tell me that this is real. Certainly not Mr. Famous. But anyway, I did. I thought, you know what, let's let him document it. So it took him about 2 months, and his response after 2 months was this. It must have been an eyelash that fell on the original photo.
And you actually met up with this guy later on, hey? So you actually got speaking to this guy, and you didn't realize who he was when you were talking to him, and you asked him to revisit and relook at that footage, because I believe it when you were at dinner and you were talking about the Oliver's Castle video, which, by the way, I absolutely believe that footage is genuine. I don't believe that it was tampered with in any way whatsoever. And I've used that footage to detail a sighting that I had that changed my life in 2009. And what you see on that video there is identical to what I saw: 6 balls of light intercepting a passenger airplane over Manchester in the United Kingdom and zipping around the plane. At first I thought it was another aircraft, they were off in the distance, and then when they got closer I thought they were missiles. And as they approached the back of the aircraft, my hands went on my head and some profanity came out that I'm not going to say here, and these things then were just twirling round this aircraft, and then they all took off at the same instant in formation towards Manchester city centre, which was where I was living at the time. And these balls of light that you have on the screen here were identical in every way, shape and form to what had buzzed that aircraft. And I was expecting the next day to see it on the news, in a news report. I reported it on a UFO website. I was pretty much on my own. It was life-changing to me. And I've used the Oliver Castle. It's on our Shed Show Talk videos. When I've been talking about my first unidentified flying object incident.
Do you believe that the spheres in your crop circles, which you say are originating from the Earth, what's the height that they could reach in the air? Do you believe there's a connection between the contact that Paul had visually with what was happening in the sky is connected to the contact you had within the crop circles?
You know, I can't really say. I'm not an expert on what he saw, but I would say that balls of light basically are what you're seeing at a base of a spinning vortex. And how it was explained to me that we see a ball of light is that what we have is a spinning vortex, and it's got all these different frequencies. And they've been predetermined because there's a purpose that a ball of light is out. And I don't call it a satellite ship or a UFO. It's a spinning, and it is plasma. It's just spinning plasma. So Beth, it is plasma base. The interesting thing is that I didn't know any of this until I met Penny Kelly, who worked with Levengood for the last 16 years of his life. And because the media has spun everything so foully, there's somebody else that was using his name, BLT Nancy Talbot. But what we don't hear publicly is that she was expelled from the lab in 1998, you know, a century ago. So even though she's still Burke, Levengood, and Talbot, what the world doesn't know is that Burke and Levengood wanted nothing to do with her this entire century. And we're 17 years in. So again, when I see that name come up, or the names of the people that used to, you know, I don't want to say misinformed, but they had the opportunity to do what I'm doing today, which is to offer the real science of William Levengood. So why is it important that we have these spinning vortex balls of light? And again, the ball of light is the effect at the bottom of a spinning vortex. It's really all this up here, but what we see is, you know, and then it lights up. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm not a scientist or a physicist, and that's why I say after 5 mornings, go tell me again. I take it in on a human level, like, how can I understand this as a human, a basic, you know, because I'm not a scientist or any of those things. So it was repeated, and then I finally can give it to your audience and myself in laywoman's term, which is that these different frequencies, all crop circles, they say, and all I'm talking about, and it doesn't mean it's going to be correct for any of your listeners, but this is William Levengood's theory. After he did all these years of studying, decades, plants and seeds and soil and crop. Once he got his first samples of crop circles, that was it. Everything else just went to the back burner. This was so fascinating to him. And then once he was having these incredible improvements with seeds, it was, you know, then he created the machines to make crop circles, the technology happening in them happen intentionally on the tabletop right there. And I saw the machine, wow. So I know we do it. And what we're doing is spinning plasma in the right frequencies. So here's some interesting constant correlations. Almost every crop circle documented on the map is sitting over a ley line.
Okay. I was going to ask you about ley lines.
A direct line between 2 sacred sites. And in Wiltshire, England, Center, there's more sacred sites than anywhere else on earth per square mile. So if you look at a ley line map of Wiltshire, it's like a spider web. You know, you got Stonehenge over there and the Avebury Stone Circle as the center of the epicenter, and Glastonbury over there with all the druid and their coats and their hoods, and, you know, and their cars are all dirty as spider webs in the house, but their gardens are voluptuous with food and flowers. It's earth. It's the real earth, honoring people that are over there. And there's water and crop and everything, you know. Unfortunately, though, they're being forced, if they want to receive their benefits, they're forced to use poison on the crops. And that's where our fake, what's it called, gluten intolerance and all these allergies are coming from. Stop poisoning the food. Okay, anyway. So crop circles are always located on a ley line because the energy is highly enhanced. But the other consistency, even in different countries, different continents, is that they're always sitting over water, over some form like an aquifer of water. So if you've got water and earth and the plasma is spinning coming through the water, you've got earth energy and water energy now in pretty much every real crop circle. Again, I'm giving you the theory of William Levengood and Penny Kelly, who is the only scientist in the world that proved, in my opinion, they are real. But when you're ready for the real science, my website is cropcirclefilms.com. I have 8 movies in the shop or store, whatever it's called. But the trailers, you'll see so much, mainly the communication between the balls of light. In my opinion, I think that's one of the most important things I have ever found. And what we have again in these spinning plasma vortices are different frequencies. So now we know we've got earth frequencies, which are electromagnetic, which are, ion, electron, avalanche. There's all these different earth energies and frequencies that are spinning. And then there's also humans that were sitting in a crop circle the other day and prayed for a crop circle. So now you've got this consciousness group sitting in the Avery stone circle, asking for a crop circle, so their energetic field is also spinning in this particular one. And I would only say it because the crop circle that lay down was the exact thing that they had asked for. And I have
Isn't that interesting? I have a question about that. So are you inferring that perhaps the stone circles were consciousness circles used to connect with the natural earth and water cycles in order to increase productivity? Or am I making that assumption?
Well, I think that's a great assumption, and it's one of the meditations people meditate to create a crop circle. In my first film, actually, they were meditating in a bar, drinking wine. So, in answer to that beautiful question you asked, stone circles are made of these huge sarsen stones that are mostly quartz and granite. What's quartz? Quartz is the stone of communication, right?
Mm-hmm. So and it's used, it's used today still people are using quartz for communication device.
Correct. And they go deep into the earth. The sarsen stones creating stone circles. You've got, 30, 40 feet up. You've also got 20, 30 feet down. Huge stone goes into the earth, so it stays standing. And so you've got an awful lot of earth, water, stones, crystals, energies, yes. And once in a while, we will see crop circles that are clearly formations that look like solar patterns. So perhaps, and again, this is only my thought processing with being in more than 100 crop circles and looking at thousands, there's a lot of times where I feel like it's a response to other dimensional elementals, ETs, we want to call them, such as if they were flying over and said, "Which way's Mars? We're lost." And they ask the Earth, she will send up a crop circle that has the Earth frequencies. Now that star map has gone into the water in spinning, counter-rotating vortices. And then it's come out of the Earth and it's laid down this incredible crop circle with the answer. There's Mars and it's pointed at a sacred site over there. And anything flying over, humans in little microlights like me with my camera, or people in helicopters, higher budget like BBC, or other dimensionals, ETs flying over. So now what we have is this picture in the earth that was created by the earth energies, the water energies, sometimes humans, but not always. Sometimes ETs, but not always. But the opportunity is always available for all four of us to work together to create crop circles. Very often they are an answer to a question. Very often they are a political warning, such as, again, my perception. But do you remember that great alien face and the disc?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, I do. Absolutely, I have it on the screen right now.
Bang, you are so good. Wow, He did his homework. I gotta say, it's so nice when people do their homework because you did know an awful lot of things that I just recently put in videos. So this disc and this alien showed up the summer after 9/11. And what was the message? And you tell me if it correlates in your brain. Beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises. Much pain, but still time. Believe there is good out there. We oppose deception. Conduit closing. 9/11. How about 2009 when you say you were in the crop circles? That summer was such a freak summer, and it was all birds, fish, insects.
Yeah.
It was the hummingbird. It was the rising phoenix. It was the thunderbird. It was the 1,500-foot-long octopus. It was the squid, spinning dolphin in a circle, the scarab, the dragonfly with the veins in the wings. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
Stunning.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, God. So what was that? It wasn't a summer of binary codes or Fibonacci sequence and mathematics or any of those other things. It was birds, fish, insects. What's the message? And I'm going, what's the message? And sure enough, 9 months later, the BP oil spill happened and killed millions of birds, fish, and bugs. To me, these are political warnings. To me, these were messages coming out of the earth all summer long from the mother, the living entity of the earth, not Agarthans or some species of aliens. So bear with me, I don't mean to be facetious, but this is a real phenomenon that is not some wacky woo-woo thing that like they've spun it out to be. And my films are so gentle because I knew nothing. They are organic and experimental. So like I said, the first movie, it's called The Wake Up Call. Anybody listening? Because I was so stunned. I was like, oh my God, how could I have not known about this? That, your whole everything, it's like you can't fake that. And then the next year I came back alone and somebody loaned me a camera and I just went wild and I filmed everything. And the next year I made 3 movies without even knowing it. All I wanted to do was be in crop circles, and I always had a camera, and I was always with amazing people, so it was really easy, And when you're in the crop circles, it's all intuition, it's all magic, and you don't have to fake anything. We didn't do makeup, hair, lights, nothing. We just told the truth in the crop circles. And so that movie was the first. And I took it to the International UFO Congress Convention because I went online like, oh my God, what do you do with a movie, UFO movie? And they were the big event. So I called them up and it was still owned by this wonderful family. And the daughter said, oh, you missed the deadline by a month. I'm so sorry. And, I knew nothing about it. So I was like, oh, okay. And she says, well, what's the movie about? And I said, crop circles. And she said, oh, wait, Dad has a weakness. Send the movie anyway. So I sent the movie to Bob Brown, who owned the International UFO Congress. And within 2 or 3 days, the guy calls me off the wall. He goes, who are you? Where'd you come from? I friggin' love your film. And he threw a Tuesday special lunch because he couldn't put me in the film festival. He couldn't add me as a speaker, but he knew from the movie that this was a whole different frequency of telling the truth about crop circles because I ended it with finding the communication between the 2 balls of light. And nobody noticed, but the room was packed. And he made it so special that they actually did bag lunches and they charged a little fee. So it was all the speakers, these international UFO speakers that I had heard slightly about, but I wasn't like a movie star woo-woo girl. I was like there going, hey, nice to meet you, and I didn't really study much of their work. But there I am. I've got this movie camera wrapped around my neck like a necklace. And so everywhere I went, after they showed my film early in the week, all of the speakers said, oh, yeah, I'd love to go on camera for you. So my second movie is called, it's 29 speakers from the International UFO Congress. And because I was like so fresh and telling the truth, God forbid, it was really easy to get them to say things where a lot of them said, did I just say that on camera? Yeah. So I got these juicy little bits. And I didn't mean to do it, but I think I wore a lot of cleavage. So some about the using my knees and the cleavage, I just kept them telling me great stories. And oh my God, it was so fun because these were the days of real 4-star generals.
It's interesting that you mentioned the generals and sort of the way UFO culture has changed. And one of the questions I had from a viewer prior to the show is, are plasma orbs UFOs?
Well, let's talk about plasma. Mm-hmm. And again, all I have as my understanding is what Penny Kelly told me. Mm-hmm. Now, Penny Kelly has written 23 books, pennykelly.com, friggin' brilliant. Yeah. She looked at this photo of 2 plasma balls with a line between them, and I put her on camera. And even though the famous guy said an eyelash fell on the original footage, it's what, with 2 goobers? Nice. Thank you for 2 months of labor. And whatever.
That's actually on the screen right now too, Penny. And
I know.
Yeah, I can tell you that does not look like an eyelash to me.
I think the delicious punchline is, on camera, I showed this very photo to Penny Kelly. She didn't know anything about it. And I said, what is this? And she looked at it and she goes, wow, 2 plasma balls and a communication between them in binary code. And I was like, how did you know? And she just said, I looked at it. Like, it should be that easy. It was for me, completely intuitive, but I was tripping on Mercury and dealing with the Earth speaking with me very clearly. I knew that that was a binary code between 2 plasma. I didn't know plasma at the time, but 2 balls of light. So when Penny immediately noticed what it was, I said, what are they saying? Because for me, that's the biggest question. Yeah. What is that code? Okay, it goes between the balls of light, and it goes a little bit further beyond the balls of light. And so somebody wrote, oh, well, you know, it goes beyond, so it's fake. It's a glitch. It's like, I'm sorry. When I speak to you, does my voice stop at you, or does it go beyond you? Mm-hmm. But it goes beyond you. That's what you're seeing is moving plasma. And what is plasma? So Penny explained that plasma is the basis of everything. And plasma is going to be the new science. Once we start speaking in the higher frequencies of alignment of our consciousness, we're going to realize that manipulating plasma is when things change. And the plasma field is energetic, and it is everywhere. It is all the time, and communication moves instantly through the plasma field, and so does thought, feeling, words, frequency. It's all moving out with our thoughts, feelings, words, actions. It's our plasma field moving. And when we talk about the frequencies happening in crop circles, what we have is these spinning, counter-rotating vortices of plasma. Now what's happening is they spin and spin and spin, and all these frequencies are coming in that were predetermined to create that crop circle of perhaps a hummingbird with veins and a big body and small wings or large wings, but it's all pre-programmed, and it's brought in by, if it was people thinking about it, well, then those frequencies are strong. If it was the Earth saying we need to tell people that they've got to get the heck awakened and bring back the bees, she will spin up a bee crop circle, which of course we had. That one, I think, is the Earth speaking with us. On the other hand, it might be the beekeepers going, oh my God, you know, they're praying together, you know, and their frequency is at it also. So what we have are these different layers, like I said, with distinct boundary conditions. And once they get spinning, everything has been predetermined for this message. They go faster and faster. Boom, they get to the right pitch of frequency and spin, and the human will see a ball of light. Those 2 balls of light will then communicate to each other. And when I said to Penny, what did they say? She gave me the same answer that I intuitively heard when I found the first time they communicated, which was the ball said to the other, I'll do this, you do that, and the field goes down in seconds.
That's incredible. And I mean, when you first walked into this, because you're a magician, you're a musician, maybe a magician now, certainly with your work, you have an array of evidence, which is really impressive. But when you first walked into a crop circle, I believe did you pass out in that crop circle? Because you were looking for healing originally. You'd had this poisoning through the dentist, a horrific incident with the dentist where you'd actually gone to get these fillings removed, to have the mercury taken out of your face. And you wake up and all of these silver fillings are back in. And then that makes you sick, which takes you a long time to heal. You still have today a cut, I believe, on your hand from this. You walk into a crop circle and you pass out. What happens at that point? Did you see any of these plasma balls that you're talking about?
You are good.
We've been excited about this question.
Oh, good. Well, there are 2 different years that we're talking about, so we do have to separate that. The time when I passed out was the 2nd year that I came back, and I came back alone. And I had all the time in the world to do nothing but serve whatever this energy was that was drawing me like a magnet to Wiltshire. I could hardly wait through the winter to get back. And you don't go until the wheat is up and the crop is up, because then the circles will start to go down. So I would get there early June and stay June, July, and the first week or 2 of August. But then the farmers start to mow the fields down because they've got to sell their crop. And that's when I leave. But the interesting thing is that even after they mow the crop, we have seen the orbs of light. So you're curious about the orbs of light and the difference between orbs that people photographed with flowers and faces and all these things, which, God, I love orbs, and the balls of light making crop circles. And again, all I can give you is my perception from looking at thousands of photos. And I did make a movie. Number 5 or 6 is called Orbs and Light Beings. And I've never seen orbs that amazing in my life. But the thing about orbs, light beings, balls of light making crop circles, is that they're all other dimensionals, but it's a difference of density and frequency. Density of what? Well, now I probably know the answer would be density of the plasma field. When you have a ghost is less dense than I am in my little flesh bag with blood and clothing on, right? I just have thicker density where people can see me. But if there's a ghost, it also has a similar form, perhaps of a human with arms and legs, but it has less density, so you can see through it into the room and get all scared. But again, it's a human form, it just has less density. So in the world of orbs, light beings, balls of light, we're talking density.
Okay.
Whereas the density of the balls of light making crop circles are far thicker than the density of the beautiful orbs with lace and flowers and faces that I have in my Orbs movie. But the second half of the movie is the heaviest story I have ever seen. And I think it cost me my last amazing boyfriend because he watched me film it. And what I filmed was 2 guys fell out of their van, 2 guys from Belgium. And we're sitting there at the research center first thing in the morning having coffee, whispering to the other researchers from around the world, do you know of a new crop circle that happened last night while we slept? And we would trade, like there's one over at Hatbox Hill. Well, there's one up on, old Kennett Longborough. So we would like trade, not GPS coordinates. We weren't that sophisticated back then for some reason. It was like, how to get there is the funniest directions. You go down a country road till you see a tree with a broken arm and you climb over the fence where you can tell we loaded up a stump or 2, and then you count 5 tractor lines to the left and just keep walking, and it's like, oh yeah, that's good. That's real good. And so you just hope, right? And you just hope you find your way. But it is a treasure hunt and a half. And all of a sudden you're walking down this tram line, and then for me it's like, oh God, we're close. The hair, the tingles, and you're close. And then all of a sudden, every time I would see it for the first second, I would always bow. It was this interesting, I forget about this until I think of walking in a tram line. I would automatically bow, because it was so breathtaking and otherworldly to see this pristine swirled circle. The photo where you can see me laying in that swirled circle, it all happens in one movement. And I don't think it's people with boards and ropes making all of them. Certainly not.
No, I agree. I would agree with you there. I think that some of them are just far too intricate, and with the scientific evidence that you're trying to bring to the forefront of how these are altered to produce more food, to bring back our food supply, would tell me if we can get this out here and we can get the right research done and really continue some of William Levengood's work on this, that that's the smoking gun for me. If we can get that out there, Patty, then everything you've ever talked about and everything you've ever said about this doesn't become myth. It's fact. It's already fact. I understand that, but it's fact. So I think one of the keys is getting that out there, and then nobody can question any of the work that you've done or anything in the past. Do you have a plan for getting that out there?
I've had 3 different distributors, and all they've been is suppressors. All 3 of them have been a friggin' nightmare. And I don't know if they're all one little cesspool together, or if they're all just independently men who hate women. I don't know what the problem is, but I have 8 amazing films. I've won 5 EB awards. When I told you about the International UFO Congress Convention, I was green. I was brand new. I didn't know any of these people. And then movie 2 happened, which was I interviewed 29 people, like I said. And then I went back to England in 2008, and I filmed 3 movies without even meaning to. It was just everywhere I went. I had this camera hanging around my neck, and everywhere I went, it was so fascinating. I just kept filming. And the questions for me in 2008 were, tell me about crop circles. What do you know? And tell me about 2012, which is coming up in 4 years. So everybody I interviewed that was really brilliant, and a lot of the speakers in Europe, you know, it was a lot of the keynotes over there because I was in Wiltshire, and they all love crop circles, the ones that I met. Amazing, brilliant people. Ian Crane, Patricia Corey, and the real crappies over there, Isabel Kingston. So my 3rd movie is called 2012. We're already in it. Bang, I get my first award at the International UFO Congress Convention. Put me on the map. I got Best UFO Feature Film of the Year, which was such a compliment. And because I knew nothing and I was so green, I was like, what? How did this happen? And then I had all this other footage. And I realized the most important thing is the binary code between the 2 balls of light. Nobody even noticed. So movie 4, I grabbed that footage and I stuck it in the beginning of the movie, and I called it Crop Circle Update, the wake up call. And I stuck it there 3 times in the beginning. The communication between the balls of light. This footage is real. This footage is real. And I did it 3 times because the brain, when it's told so many times by somebody famous, the lovely, and he's a very dear man, Colin Andrews, I'm just going to name him, told the world that this footage, without my communication found, was fake. And he did it with a lot of media behind him and a lot of news media, and he convinced everybody, even today, that it's fake. So I didn't know he was the man, but when I met him in 2010, I think, or 2014 at the International UFO Congress, I walked up. I said, hello, Colin. My name's Patty Greer. Patty Greer, the wife and I just watched a film. It was lovely. And I said, which one? And he was fumbling. And I said, Crop Circle Update. It just won. And this was a year after I won my first EB. I won 2 EBs the next year for Crop Circle Update, the wake up call, with the 3 the communication in the beginning 3 times. I was like, okay, if nobody's going to notice, I'm going to just make the movie that and almost stop. I could almost just stop after showing that and say, the end, it's real. But of course, I did this beautiful film, great music, and I won Best Music and Best Film, which was like, how could somebody this green win awards? And I'm not even a great filmmaker. I just tell the truth and carry a camera. But I think when you're that authentic, everybody's smiling that you're filming. Everybody's telling the truth. And it's this frequency that really is, I got to say, and I've never said this on a show, but it was like a love frequency flowing in the fields. And all my movies are that. It's probably what threatens those that have created me to be, for some reason, the most hacked UFO filmmaker in history. And I hate using that sentence because it is really ugly to have an enemy with that much intention to hide your films. I don't know what the reason is.
I do have a question about this, and I just want to ask specific to the enemies that you're facing. Is there a counterforce to plasma, a counterforce, a natural balance in the order? So like there's fire and water, there's earth and sky. There's all these sort of balancing forces that are at work. And one of the things as I was listening to you, I wondered is, does plasma face any opposition in the natural order? Dark matter and light matter opposing even in the universe. Is there something like that that you've encountered?
Well, I think everything is plasma. So everything is plasma, dark, light, good, bad, up, down, left, right, everything is plasma. What we send out is our field of energy. Emotion is energy in motion. So what we're sending out is our plasmic field. Everybody's got their own perception of the world, so they're going to perhaps see something different. But you did just trigger a memory of something incredibly important. And that's why my 8th film is my last crop circle film, most likely. And it's called Crop Circle Diaries. It's where I did the complete scientific explanation of William Levengood, and the movie features Penny Kelly. She came out of the closet, and she and I nailed Crop Circle Diaries, the entire science, without missing a dang word from William Levengood. And the punchline is that after years of research, they proved that these spinning plasma vortices creating crop circles, when the seeds were laid, he would get these laid crop samples from the center, 5 feet out, 10 feet out, 20 feet out. And the way that they would understand what was going on scientifically is that they would be able to measure the effect it had on the crop from the middle, further out, and they also measure the magnetics. The interesting thing about crop circles is they leave more biophysical evidence than any other UFO phenomenon on Earth. They leave these big blown nodes and bent nodes and exploded nodes, which are physical evidence that something hit that plant with a lot of heat and created the liquid inside the stalk to explode in that little support node to bend over and create the crop circle pattern. And there's tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. But where they bend, that's where those of us walking in the fields can recognize human-made from plasma field crop circle, real crop circle. If the nodes are exploded, bent, elongated, biophysical evidence, that's a real crop circle. It wasn't made by humans. If humans made the crop circles, you will see broken wheat where they laid it down and hit it with a long board, 3 feet across, a hole in each end, and they stick a hole with a rope, tie a knot in the other side, and they lift it up and they step 3 feet further and they lift it up. And so they've got a board with 2 ropes, and that's how they make human-made crop circles. But as a researcher, when you walk in, all you have to do is get down on your hands and knees. Every 3 feet, you'll see a line of broken wheat where the board crunched it on the corner. Not rocket science, human-made. But the real ones with the biophysical evidence, my God, those poor people trying to hide crop circles, you've got acres of evidence. And then there's a crop circle 2 miles away with acres of evidence. So they're going to spin it into this bizarre UFO monster where, oh, no, it's Doug and Dave. Oh, wait, it's Team Satan. Or some other skank group of guys going out making crop circles so that the BBC or ancient aliens can show up with their cameras and say, oh, well, humans, chalk it up. So here we are. The media has completely trashed the crop circle phenomenon. And then this 1996 fantastic footage of balls of light laying down a crop circle, we get this lovely Englishman, Colin Andrews, to tell the world, oh no, we proved it's fake. Well, who'd you prove it with? The Nippon TV team and the secret detectives. I'm sorry, the what? The secret detectives and the Nippon TV team. We spent a lot of time and money, and I'm sure you did. So the world still believes it today. And I saw him win the Lifetime Achievement Award 4 hours after meeting him. So when I met him, I said, and you saw the video, I can tell, right? You saw that video. Yeah. And so Colin and I meet, and he says, oh, Patty Greer, the wife and I saw the movie. And I said, which one? He goes, Crop Circle Update. And I looked right at him. First time we ever met, and it was proof that I don't watch other people's work. And I said, how did you like it when I proved the Oliver's Castle footage was real? And he just stared at me, and I was like, 3 times in the first 5 minutes. And he just stares at me. And I went, you missed it all 3 times? Okay. And I'm still not getting it. And I said, well, would you go back and would you be willing to go back and watch it with the wife again and get back to me? Because I know that people trust what you say, and because you've been doing this a long time, it'd be great. I just need somebody, you know, with either the initials or the respect or the reputation. You know, in those days, I didn't know what I was asking for. So, you know, he took him a while, kind of like the guy with the eyelash response. And finally, after many back and forth emails, his answer ultimately was, I can't say you're wrong, but I can't say you're right.
Huh.
Yeah. Well, you know, nobody's ever questioned.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, I love it. It's a conversation. Nobody's ever questioned my work, and I've never even seen bad press. And in Crop Circle Diaries, where I have Penny Kelly and I talking about Levengood's work, here's the punchline. Crop circles are coming out of the earth, as we know, in counter-rotating vortices of spinning plasma. Lay the field down in these beautiful patterns. And there's a circle here and a triangle there and another circle in. And from the air, it's this huge sacred geometry with 100 different elements, or 409 circles in a spinning Fibonacci spiral. Oh my God, on a rainy night, no footsteps in the morning. It happened. You've seen that one, the 409 circles?
Yeah.
For flawless mathematics and no footsteps in the morning. Yeah, that happened by humans. So what's going on? Why would we not want to brag about how incredible it is that we have these messages being delivered to humanity? Because we get to see them. We fly over them, we film them, and then people get to see them on TV or in the magazines or wherever we can get them out to people. But also, all these formations of spinning plasma energies with the intention of laying down a hummingbird and then a hen and then this, you know, are with the intention of giving information, but it's also going through the water. So the water all over this area and the tributaries going out are also filled with that gorgeous plasma field of that informational message, right?
It's in the coding, down to the level of the coding.
There you go.
And we have coding fans. So one of the questions I was going to ask you in follow-up to something earlier, but we'll get back to it, is about code breaking for the codes that you'd mentioned between these plasma orbs, but we'll get back to it. Please continue.
So the messages are part of it. The enhanced frequency is another part of it, but also any other dimensionals, ETs, they're above, they're moving by, their frequencies, their fields, their ships, their fleets, and they look down and they see crop circles. Sometimes it's a message for them. Sometimes it's a love letter in a field, perhaps, who knows? Sometimes it's not about them at all. But I have documented 3 crop circles where there is the crop circle and then there's the free energy device that is, oh my God, almost a schematic of the crop circle is right there, evidenced in the machine itself. I showed 3 of them in the top of probably Crop Circle Diaries. So anyway, Crop Circle Diaries, which I call my final film, the punchline is they're producing 30 to 400% more food and biofuel per plant. The seeds, once Levengood figured out by experimenting repeatedly in the lab, and we were talking about the magnetics and the level of how far it threw the wheat, how big the spin was, the level of biophysical change, blown, expanded, elongated, that has an effect on what was going on at that time in the field. So you've got all this biophysical evidence. You can't keep pretending it's fake. I mean, it's just crazy that they keep trying to hide it when it's not even a woo-woo UFO thing, even though they can be included. This is a physical Earth phenomenon. So the way that Lefty maximized the yield of the seeds, which is what is so phenomenal for humanity, is that experiment. The samples are all over. One day he's cleaning the lab, and over in the corner of the desk, he finds this old envelope of seeds that he had forgotten about, and they had all these crop circle seeds, and he went to throw them in the trash, and that little voice that one of you spoke about earlier said, "Don't throw those seeds away." And so he's actually leaned over, and he said he pulled back, and he took the seeds, and he put them in the germination chamber, and he put them in the germination tank, and he let them mature. And it was those seeds and that accident, not where they were lost on his desk. So they were so shriveled that he said no proper seedsman would ever grow these seeds, because they're shriveled and, they had no life, no sun, no water for months. And here they are all this time, this little package of life rebuilding from the inside. And because it had been spun in this high frequency plasma field with all these amazing elements, they were like, ooh, super seeds. And so now you've got these little electric seeds lost in the corner of his desk. And the magician scientist walks up and does the ultimate magic. Who would guess? It wasn't just being in the crop circle, but it was that time of shriveling the seeds and starving them of love and light and peace and all those things. I'm kidding, just water and light. And that the became super seeds. So now you've got these seeds in the germination chamber, and now he's got them growing next to base sample seeds outside the formation. And these things are like, what? And he's totally losing it. So now he starts repeating the experiment over and over, and they found consistent results that the seeds grew 30 to 400% more crop with up to 75% more nutrition per plant. And they tested the seeds in conditions too hot, too cold, too wet, too dry, and they survived. So what they grew in the lab was super seeds. And what happened to make them become super seeds was the magic that happened in that crop circle that came out of the earth in counter-rotating vortices of spinning plasma.
That's so
now in the lab, they're working with the spinning plasma field, and they're going, okay, now we got to work with the charge density plasma. Okay, now we're working with charge density plasma, and we're mechanizing it, and we're plugging it in. And so they came up with a way to be able to re-engineer what's happening in crop circles. And then Lefty got lambasted, and they did everything they could to hide his work, pretty much like they've been doing to me. And, as a woman, as somebody came in to heal from some idiot dentist, to all of a sudden be now dealing with low frequency distributors hiding my films. I mean, not one of them did me right. Not even close. So what is it? What is it about that old 50s thing? Or is it that we are so close to the complete rise of human consciousness? And it is the wise women that have always kind of pulled us through in times of difficulty. And it's not, her and her little stupid woman card, we'll get the frick over that, because there is something going on with the suppression of women in the field of UFOs, unless you are completely submissive and perhaps one of their, shall we say, child, mind-controlled, trained plants that's now being brought out at 30, 40, 50, 60 years old to hear those trigger words and be their actors and post this and all these very special things where, they're going to be pushed forward and keep that old narrative going and do everything they can. I mean, I was hit on Amazon, Vimeo, YouTube, website I had to rebuild, eBay, mailing list. I have photos of 7 or 8 packages that they stole from the post office, stole from UPS. I mean, these people are planted everywhere.
And that's technically a crime as well. All of it, actually.
Absolutely.
It is so criminal. And when I say 7 or 8 packages stolen. The first one, for example, was my master coming back from my editor in a town near Seattle, Washington. And I had already finished the film, but I got to deal with PBS local, so they were going to run it a whole bunch. And I was so excited that I sent it to this editor, and I said, tweak my color and sound, make it just beautiful. So I paid him $1,000. I sent him out a master, and he tweaks it, and then he sent me the master back, ready to go. And 2-day special delivery came 9 days later. No power cord, no bubble wrap. Half the data was missing. Now, I didn't know the editor very well, so I called him on the phone. I'm like, did you bubble wrap this master? And he said, yeah, why? And I said, did you include a power cord? He said, of course. And I said, meet me in the cloud because I'm missing half the data and I got nothing to work with here. And he's like, oh, yeah, he's blah, blah, you know. So he meets me, and sure enough, he's looking, and half the data was gone.
Wow, incredible. And you mentioned actually, Patty, about being a woman in this field. And I think you also rightfully mentioned that women do quite often come to save us. I mean, you just look throughout history, there's so many great figures like Mother Teresa and Florence Nightingale, which really, you know, when you look at that side of kind of promoted the healing of the human race, and unfortunately we just haven't taken any notice. While some of us haven't. The silent majority have. It's the vocal minority that always seem to get us into trouble. But being a woman in the UFO field, and also, strangely enough, sharing a name with another famous ufologist, who I believe had the pleasure of meeting you in a crop circle as well. No relation whatsoever. But he was lucky enough to meet you in the crop circle. How did that go on?
It was actually really valuable, and I've used 2 photos from that moment of meeting Stephen Greer. Thank you. I am not related to Stephen Greer, and I think a lot of people hear my name and they go, oh, well, she's got it so easy. It's like, yeah, I wish. Frankly, if I had his bodyguards and if he was my ex-husband or grandfather, it would certainly serve me. But you know, I really want to speak highly of him. I'm really trying to get to know him. But even though we met and he did give me great respect, I still haven't been able to get him to communicate closer, but hopefully we'll work together down the road. So here I am in 2010. I'm in this gorgeous crop circle that was this floating cube in a myriad of like a labyrinth, and there's this floating cube, and it's this gorgeous crop circle, and it's one of those that I call the 3D crop circles, where you look at it and it's like, oh, your eyes can trick you like almost an Escher painting, these crop circles, some of them. So this one was one of those where you just roll your eyes. And I hiked down the hill with my boyfriend, and I had my movie camera, and you know, for me it's like, oh crap, there's people in the center. And so, you know, we had to, it's, you know, excuse me, but I'm, you know, filming, and I really need to be in the center and do a 360, you know, but so we go there, and there's this whole group of people, and sure enough, standing there, I recognized the guy. I'd never met him, Stephen Greer. So my boyfriend's this tall, handsome guy, and he's holding the long tripod with the camera all parked on it, locked, and you know, we came in like I own the place also, and the group looks at us like, you know, folded arms. We paid thousands of dollars. You can't be here. And it was an interesting energy that did that. They were really interestingly snooty at first, and I don't blame them. It was a really special opportunity. But sorry, I'm Patty Greer, and I'm going to come film this crop circle. Love ya. So I'm at the edge, and I look at Stephen, and I said, Stephen Greer, Patty Greer. And he tells the group that I'm this great filmmaker, and he goes on, totally surprised me. And he opens his arm to hug me, so I walked across the crop circle and gave him a hug. And he says, please join us. And it was so cool. Yeah. So we locked the camera, and I didn't film him doing his class because that's not okay. But it was really nice. It was the first time I met him physically, the only time that was really a lovely time. And then we watched him taught in the crop circle. But the most valuable thing to me was he walks in the center, where you can see me laying in this photo, and he holds two compasses, and they were pointing north in opposite directions. So what he's holding is two compasses showing the group that in the center of this crop circle, which was laid down 2 days ago, so it's already, somewhat relaxed frequencies, but you can still feel it. You've got counter rotating vortices of spin.
Wow.
In the middle circle. And there he was holding it. So I shot a photo of him holding these two compasses. And only because it's Stephen Greer and it's a subject so heavy, I, was shooting down like this. So I've got a picture of the two compasses in his crotch. And so I used it a few times as something that just made people laugh. I was like, here's just kind of rotating vortices and Stephen Greer's crotch. And it was like the big laugh. You gotta like it.
He's a large guy as well, huh?
He's tall.
Certainly very tall on screen. Thank you for clarifying that, Beth. He's a really tall. Is he that tall in real life? When you saw him, were you taken back by his size? Because some of our viewers think that he actually might be alien himself.
I do have a photo of he and I side by side, and he towers over me, and he looks like an alien. But I have had a variety of different contact with people that are close to him, and I'm really hanging on to my faith that he is one of the good ones.
I would agree with that. I think so too.
I don't know for sure, but I keep wanting to believe that he is.
It's got to be in the last. It's got to be in the last name there, Patty. It has to be in the last name.
Yeah, but it's also not a coincidence that the same people hiding my first 4 films for 10 years, they're called Gaiam. Now they changed their name to Gaia, but they're also the ones that had Stephen Greer's movie pulled off YouTube. They ordered YouTube to pull Stephen Greer's movie off. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. We actually had we had on one of our videos when we were when we were talking about Stephen Greer, we did have a copyright claim from them, which they did remove from one of our videos. So that's very, very interesting that they had some rights. I think it was on the Sirius documentary, and I was talking about the Unacknowledged, which of course is Stephen Greer's latest documentary, which just came out now on Netflix. But you started off, your first publisher was actually UFO TV, is that correct?
Oh, he was a nightmare. And for 8 years, he sweet-talked me in the beginning. He was flirting. He was 6'6", bizarre, married, bipolar, manic. And he was saying very strange things. But for some reason, I thought he was a decent guy. I gave him 8 years to sell my films. I was doing extremely well on Amazon.com. And I think I averaged 17 movies a day going out. Now that's a lot of DVDs. And it was early. I was one of the early ones putting out real crop circle movies. And also the one with the 29 speakers from the UFO Congress Convention. So I had those 2 movies. Those are the 2 he got. And he had them for 8 years under contract where he was going to do this and that and get me out, and he never did anything. He did UFO TV and Walmart. And I made 66 pennies a month. But what he really did was he stole my Amazon business. And my 17 DVDs a day, I was selling them for $30 each. And they were just flying. And all of a sudden I had 0 sales. And I looked on Amazon, and he had put my 2 movies, $30 each, in one box for $24.99 and destroyed me.
So of course then everybody's purchasing that rather than coming to you. And it didn't just stop with your ufology work, did it? Because of course you're a musician and you were finding songs and all sorts of other things that were also out there being sold. I mean, we're talking almost like what would seem to be a personal vendetta of every segment of your life in order for you to make a living, for you to be able to have a roof over your head, just being torn up in front of you. If somebody else was starting right now, they're going to make a UFO movie, and they were going down the same path as yourself to try and get a publisher, which seems to be, or a distributor, which seems to be the way forward. What advice would you have for other people? 3 publishers now, one of them still has the rights to your movies, won't release those rights. You've asked them, you've offered to pay money back for the rights for your movies so you can sell your movies and distribute these amazing films and evidence on Crop Circles, unlike anybody else has ever produced. 8 awards for the 8 movies. And you can't produce these. That must be not until 2021 you're now stuck in this contract. What would you say to people starting out in maybe not even just ufology, but just across the board? This has turned your life upside down. How would they avoid such a journey and a path that you've taken?
I don't have an answer, or I'd be doing it right now. I mean, it's serious. It's I feel like we're sitting on the crest of this huge reset, this huge shift and reset of everything. Not just a currency reset where we all of a sudden have gold-backed currency and tell the truth about money, but there's going to be a complete energetic reset. Hello, we've got hurricanes on one side and fire on the other. While we're sitting here in our comfortable homes, people are being swept into the ocean right now, I imagine. And we've got fires burning. Friends of mine out in Washington, Wyoming, California, there's friggin' fires and hurricanes right now, probably being created by people of the same frequency that are destroying conscious media. I mean, we are at war in America with frequency monster people. And I do want to say a few punchlines to stories that we've started and not finished. One of them is when Penny Kelly was talking about spinning plasma frequencies. And she said the wonderful thing about learning to manipulate plasma is that I can take this glass of water, I can measure the plasma field of the glass and of the water, and then I can manipulate it over here and recreate it. And then I've got a glass with water. How fabulous. Once we learn to measure and manipulate plasma, we can recreate it. But the problem, she said, is if we have the wrong people with this technology and they spin the plasma in a negative direction, they can destroy matter. That's what's going on with these energy weapons that we're dealing with, and it's friggin' serious. The wrong people are working with the plasma technologies, and I keep going to the punchline, which is we are on this peak, on this crest. And right now, I think it is very much cabal set fires and hurricanes. It's very much probably HAARP and totally sick human manipulation causing all this. But we were talking about UFO TV. Please let me get to the punchline, which just came to me in the mail.
Oh, no.
Now, oh, yes. He's like the thing you can't get off the bottom of your shoe. And you touch my heart deeply because you know more about me than probably most people that have watched shows. Very few people know that even my music of 33 years, hundreds of thousands I spent, and the guys that own the recording studios were my boyfriends, you know, or my husband. So it's like I paid a fraction because I was always with music producers who had their studios that I probably paid for one. But, you know, the music was my soul from my heart, and it's been stolen. And it's really stunning. I don't know who did it, but I do know, because you saw the video, that my second DVD, I made 10 copies, and I stuck the labels on myself, printed them. There's only 10. And the idiot at UFO TV who just sent me a distribution check. Now, he lost his rights 2 years ago, and he had a certified notification that he is not to sell my movies. And so he lost his rights, and he signed the certified letter, and he's got cease and desist. But here it is, and it's the second one since the cease and desist, and it's over there hanging on my ribbon of all my backstage passes for music and speaker passes, just a big old thick thing of passes. There's also a couple checks from the wonderful guy at UFO TV. The big check for stolen material still being sold on his website and probably on Walmart.com because he's with them. $4.49 for material stolen and sold this year, copyright infringement. I mean, what a hack. This is UFO TV. So a lovely friend of mine who has a movie just sent me a letter she just got from him. Hi, I'm the greatest one in the world with the biggest this in the world and that in the world, and you want to work with me? And she sent it to me. I should probably send her a photo of that or a copy of the link to this show. But you know, this is the frequency we're dealing with. I can't stop him. I can't stop him at all. He's going to continue illegally and get away with it. And if he is the one that, God forbid, created some store that Amazon said they'd never heard of, the Amazon selling team, is who listed my music in 2009. They will give me no evidence, no nothing. They will not tell me who it is, but they said it's not an Amazon group. So somebody named a storefront, Amazon, the selling team, and they've been selling my music since 2009 in 7 countries that I found, but I haven't checked countries like Hungary, Bulgaria. I mean, I feel sorry for people that still in this era think that the old ways of the 50s still apply.
No. Yeah.
Filmmakers get screwed. Musicians get screwed. Why? Why could that possibly be true? Well, if kids with no talent grew up so angry at all the kids that were having piano lessons and going to ballet class and doing, you know, spelling bee and being brilliant, and they were these freaking angry kids behind the music building, smoking cigarettes and swearing with their buddies, you know, and then they grew up to be music producers, film distributors. I mean, I'm just like, I'm guessing. Or is it just simply cabal, mind-controlled children that have now grown to be 50 or 60, and all those words, those triggers kicked in, and now they're just simply thieving assholes. Oh, did I say that on the air?
We've all met these kind of people, Patty, and it's great to see that you're still very much alive and kicking and able to tell the story, which I think is really important to get out there because of other people that are going to be following in your footsteps. This is a chance for them to be warned that these people are out there and we've all met them. But let me tell you right now, what I can tell you about these people is none of them are happy within themselves. None of them will be able to put a smile. Even as you talk about it, you're able to smile about it because it's so utterly ridiculous that this would happen. And really what it ends up doing is it ends up damaging them more. Because imagine the amount of money that could have been made had this had been done with your support and your backing. So they've lost out. Even though they think they've gained, they might follow in those.
Well, we've talked about bullying and chauvinism in the UFO community, and some of the questions we've had, you've talked about. Are the groups that say they're for people actually for people in these small circles? And you've given us evidence for people out there to self-educate and say, hey, before you start wearing t-shirts, before you start signing the subscription, maybe do a little digging. But I just want to add something. We have an Amazon store that we're setting up. Can you ensure that you send us your direct links for your direct sales if you have any? We'll have those on our site. Otherwise, we'll remove the rest of the links so that people watching know if they're going to click on something, it's yours.
Well, you bet.
Well, there you have our interview with Patty Greer, and clearly there is more to be discussed with Patty Greer about the plasma phenomena and about the spheres that she was discussing and what that could mean for humanity. Guys, I want to thank you for listening to the end of the video and ensuring that you got past all of the tech issues that Paul, myself, Beth, that we had with this episode. We're working to improve it, and we take your feedback seriously. We can't wait to see you at our next interview at Shed Show Talk.